Welcome back, my gardening friends, to another Focal Point Friday episode. These quickie episodes are either an important highlight from a previous episode or a quick focus on a current event in the food and agricultural world that I think that we should be talking about. Think of these episodes as a way to tickle your brain with one or two ideas to ponder while you're planning or planting or digging in the garden this weekend. Without further ado, let's get down and dirty. Enjoy!
So Jennifer in the Just Grow Something Gardening Friends Facebook group said, I've seen several places now an argument about whether sunflowers are toxic to other plants around them or whether they are soil cleaners. Can you give us the lowdown? This was a great question and one that was asked again just a few days later in our Kansas City area gardening group as well. The quick answer is everything you've heard about sunflowers is absolutely true. Yes, they do bring up tons of nutrients from the soil. Sunflowers are very deep-rooted plants, so they can scavenge nutrients from deep in the soil. This means they can grow very well in areas that are low in nutrients in the top layers of the soil. This also means we can use them as a cover crop to pull nutrients up to that surface layer to be used later by other plants. Best way to do this is to grow the sunflowers throughout the season and then chop them down, break them up, and leave them on the soil surface. Let them compost in place to put those nutrients they've brought up back into your soil. Otherwise, sunflowers are heavy nitrogen feeders, and they can actually deplete the soil if allowed to grow over and over again in the same space without returning those nutrients to the soil. Yes, they are also allelopathic, which means the sunflower releases chemical substances into the environment to act as germination or growth inhibitors. All parts of the sunflowers contain these allelopathic toxins that inhibit seed germination and seedling growth, but only in certain plants and only within a certain range. This is how they snuff out their competition. So they shouldn't be planted with potatoes, beans, or fennel and certain other flowers. But this also means they are detrimental to many weeds too. So they do make a good companion crop to other plants. Now, if you plan to plant any of those plants that are affected by sunflower phytotoxins, you don't want to work that sunflower plant residue back into the soil where you'll be planting those beans or potatoes or fennel. The phytotoxins that are detrimental to those plants will remain in the soil and prevent proper growth. But if you're trying to rid yourself of weeds in an area, working the sunflower residue into the soil will build nutrients and decrease weeds at the same time. It's all about using that allelopathy to your advantage. And finally, yes, they are good for the soil. Sunflowers are considered hyperaccumulators. Hyperaccumulators have the ability to absorb high concentrations of particular toxic materials, metals, and metalloids from the soil. Because they can take up these metals in such large quantities in a way that is completely natural and that doesn't disturb the ecosystems around them, they're actually used in a process called phytoremediation. In general, phytoremediation provides a much less invasive way to clean contaminated soil than digging it all out of the ground or using other types of treatments, and it's much less expensive. It also seems that certain sunflower species are better at this than others, which is why research is being done on black oil sunflowers and other sunflower types that are used for food to determine which ones refuse to pull heavy metals up in order to make our food supply safer. I love planting sunflowers around my gardens. This year, I'll be planting a long hedgerow of mammoth sunflowers that get between 8 and 15 feet tall, all along our front field as both a shield from the road dust and a way to choke out weeds that have begun to get out of control in that area. They're also a great way to draw in beneficial birds and insects, so it's a win-win for me. Just know how you want to use them, and sunflowers can be a great addition to your garden.
Thanks for joining me on this Focal Point Friday. I'll be back again on Tuesday for another regular episode of the Just Grow Something podcast. So until next time, my gardening friends, keep on cultivating that dream garden, and we'll talk again soon.